November 22, 2018. Thanksgiving Day. A young mother walks through a Safeway supermarket in Woodland Park, Colorado, her one-year-old daughter seated in the shopping cart. She's picking up last-minute items for the holiday. Fresh vegetables. A can of pumpkin. The ingredients for what should be a traditional family celebration. The security cameras capture every mundane moment. Her reaching for items on the shelf. Her daughter babbling happily. A woman going about her day, completely unaware that in just a few hours, she will be dead. Murdered by the one person she trusted most. The father of her child. The man she agreed to marry. And here's what makes this case so disturbing: he didn't just wake up that morning and decide to kill her. He had tried 3 times before. 3 separate murder plots. 3 failed attempts. And when none of those worked, he came up with a plan so cruel, so calculated, that it's hard to comprehend. He asked her to play a game. A simple, romantic game. He blindfolded her. Told her he was going to light scented candles and have her guess the fragrances. She trusted him. She said yes. And that trust cost her everything. This is the story of Kelsey Barth. A pilot. A flight instructor. A mother. A woman whose life ended in the most unthinkable way, on a day meant for gratitude and family. And the evidence of what happened would be found in the most unexpected places. By the most unexpected person. Her own mother. If you want to hear more cases like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. It's 12:27 in the afternoon on November 22, 2018, Thanksgiving Day in Woodland Park, Colorado. Security cameras inside the local Safeway supermarket capture what appears to be an ordinary scene. A young woman pushes a shopping cart through the aisles. Her one-year-old daughter seated safely in the basket. She's picking up last-minute items for the holiday. Fresh vegetables, a can of pumpkin, the ingredients for a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. The woman is 29-year-old Kelsey Barth, a flight instructor and pilot. She appears calm, focused on her shopping list. Her daughter, Kay, babbles happily in the cart. Nobody watching this footage could have expected what would happen next. This would be the last time Kelsey Barth would ever be seen alive. Kelsey Barth was born in 1989 and had built an impressive career as a pilot and flight instructor. She worked at DOS Aviation in Colorado Springs, specifically at their training facility in Pueblo, Colorado, where they operated the United States Air Force Initial Flight Training Program. This wasn't just any job. Kelsey was training the next generation of Air Force pilots, a position that required skill, dedication, and unwavering attention to detail. She lived in Woodland Park, about an hour's drive from her workplace, a small mountain community where everyone seemed to know everyone else. From the outside, Kelsey's life appeared perfectly normal. She was engaged to 32-year-old Patrick Frazee, a local rancher who lived on his family's property. Together, they had a 1-year-old daughter named Kay. But there was something unusual about their arrangement. Despite being engaged and sharing a child, Kelsey and Patrick didn't live together. He remained at his family's ranch while she kept her own townhouse in Woodland Park. Friends and family didn't think much of it at the time. Some couples prefer their own space after all. What nobody knew was that this separation would soon become a critical detail in one of Colorado's most disturbing murder cases. December 2, 2018, 10 days after that Safeway shopping trip. Cheryl Barth, Kelsey's mother, picks up her phone and dials the Woodland Park Police Department. Her voice is strained with worry as she requests a welfare check on her daughter. She hasn't heard from Kelsey in over a week, and that's completely out of character. Kelsey calls her mother regularly. They text throughout the day. They share photos of Kay. This silence is deafening, and Cheryl knows something is terribly wrong. Officers arrive at Kelsey's townhouse that afternoon. Her car sits in the driveway exactly where it should be. But when police enter the home, they find a troubling scene. Kelsey's purse is missing. Her cell phone is gone, but everything else remains untouched. Her work gear sits neatly organized. Her makeup bag rests on the bathroom counter. Her luggage remains in the closet. Most disturbing of all, there's stale, uneaten food sitting on the kitchen counter as if someone prepared a meal and then simply vanished before eating it. The missing persons report is filed immediately and the search for Kelsey Barth officially begins. As investigators start piecing together a timeline, they confirm what the Safeway security footage already showed. The last confirmed sighting of Kelsey Barth was at 12:30 in the afternoon on November 22, exactly 10 days before her mother reported her missing. Cheryl had spoken to her daughter by phone that same day. It was Thanksgiving after all, and they had wished each other a happy holiday. The surveillance footage from Safeway showed Kelsey with her daughter Kay picking up groceries for what should have been a normal family celebration. But here's where things get interesting. Kelsey's fiancé, Patrick Frazee, told police he had last seen Kelsey that same day when he picked up their daughter. He claimed that he and Kelsey had recently ended their engagement. The relationship was over. Done. When police and Cheryl started asking him where Kelsey might be, Patrick offered a casual suggestion. Maybe she flew somewhere. She was a pilot after all. Perhaps she just took off without telling anyone. There was just one problem with this theory. Kelsey never went anywhere without telling her mother. Never. And she certainly wouldn't abandon her one-year-old daughter without a word. But Patrick didn't seem particularly concerned about his missing ex-fiancée. In fact, he never even reported her missing himself. Patrick told Cheryl that he had received a text message from Kelsey's cell phone on November 25, 3 days after she was last seen. The content of that message has never been publicly revealed, but Patrick claimed it was nothing concerning. When he sent a reply and Kelsey didn't respond, he figured she had put her phone on Do Not Disturb mode so she could study. Her employer at DOS Aviation also received a text from Kelsey's phone that same day stating she would be taking the following week off from work. Meanwhile, phone records showed something else entirely. On November 25, Kelsey's cell phone pinged near Gooding, Idaho. That's approximately 800 miles from her home in Woodland Park. 800 miles is a long way to travel without your purse, your luggage, your work gear, or your makeup. It's an even longer way to travel without your one-year-old daughter. Police are now treating this as a missing persons case, but they don't have any suspects. They don't have any leads. They don't even have a clear picture of what might have happened. The community responds immediately. On December 6, a candlelight vigil is held for Kelsey in Woodland Park. 50 to 60 people gather despite the freezing cold weather, holding candles and praying for her safe return. The organizers of the vigil don't even know Kelsey personally. They just felt it was the right thing to do. Cheryl Barth attends, standing alone among the crowd, her face a mask of anguish and worry. News cameras capture her standing in the background at press conferences, always alone, always hoping for answers. A $25,000 reward is offered for information leading to Kelsey's safe return. But Patrick Frazee doesn't attend the vigil. He doesn't attend any press conferences. He doesn't make any public appeals for his missing ex-fiancée to come home. He doesn't help with search efforts. His attorney releases a statement saying Patrick is fully cooperating with police, but the man himself remains silent. When reporters approach him on his property, he tells them they're trespassing and refuses to answer questions. For days after Kelsey is reported missing, police execute a search warrant on Patrick Frazee's ranch. By this point, suspicion is mounting. Patrick had told Cheryl at one point that he'd had enough and wasn't going to deal with things anymore. What exactly did that mean? What things was he dealing with? His attorney insists Patrick is cooperating fully. He's given police access to his phone. He's submitted photographs and DNA samples. He's done everything they've asked. But the police aren't convinced. They suspect Patrick knows more than he's saying, much more. Then comes the discovery that changes everything. Cheryl Barth, while visiting her daughter's townhouse, notices something unusual. There's a suspicious stain on the underside of the toilet seat in Kelsey's bathroom. It looks like dried biological evidence. She immediately calls the police, who confirm her worst fears. It is evidence of an injury. When investigators conduct a more thorough search of Kelsey's home, they find traces everywhere. In the toilet, on the outside of the bathtub, on the bottom of a trash can, on the walls, on the floor, on a towel rack, on the vanity, on an electrical outlet. This isn't just a few drops from a minor injury. This is the aftermath of a severe altercation. The scene inside Kelsey Barth's townhouse tells a horrific story. Something terrible happened here. The amount of evidence suggests serious injury or worse. Yet somehow, in the initial welfare check, officers had missed these critical details. It took a mother's instinct and careful observation to uncover the truth. Police search Patrick Frazee's ranch again. This time, they're looking for evidence of murder, but they find nothing substantial. No biological traces, no weapons, no signs of Kelsey. Patrick continues to maintain his innocence through his attorney, but the evidence is mounting against him. On December 21, 2018, exactly 1 month after Kelsey was last seen alive, police make their move. Patrick Frazee is arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Police hold a press conference to announce the arrest. The police chief makes it clear that they do not believe Kelsey is still alive. The district attorney indicates that another arrest in this case is possible. Someone else was involved in what happened to Kelsey Barth. On December 31, Patrick is formally charged with 5 counts related to Kelsey's murder. 2 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of solicitation to commit murder. 3 counts of solicitation. That means prosecutors believe Patrick tried to get someone to kill Kelsey at least 3 times before he finally did it himself. Who would help someone plan multiple murder attempts? Who would be willing to participate in such a horrific scheme? The answer comes just a few days later when police arrest 32-year-old Crystal Lee, a nurse who worked in Twin Falls, Idaho. Remember that phone ping near Gooding, Idaho? Twin Falls is about a 40-minute drive from Gooding. Crystal Lee lived in Idaho. Crystal Lee had Kelsey's phone, and Crystal Lee had been in a secret relationship with Patrick Frazee for approximately 10 years. Evidence collected in Idaho is now shared with the FBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and Woodland Park Police. Crystal Lee agrees to plead guilty to 1 count of tampering with physical evidence. In exchange, she agrees to testify against Patrick Frazee, and the story she tells is absolutely chilling. Patrick and Kelsey weren't the happy, loving couple that everyone thought they were. Cheryl Barth herself admitted she thought they were great together. She had no idea what was really happening behind closed doors. Patrick had been conducting an on-again off-again relationship with Crystal Lee for about 10 years. He wanted Kelsey gone, but he wanted full custody of their daughter Kay. That was his primary motive, control of custody. And one more thing that comes up so often in these cases, life insurance. Kelsey had a life insurance policy and Patrick was the beneficiary. But here's where Patrick's plan falls apart. The company that held Kelsey's life insurance policy had recently been bought by another company. Kelsey hadn't renewed her policy with the new company yet. That means when Kelsey died, Patrick would get absolutely nothing. 0. All of this planning, all of this violence, and he wouldn't see a single penny from it. But Patrick was determined. He told Crystal that Kelsey was a terrible, abusive mother. He claimed she did drugs. He painted a picture of a woman who didn't deserve to have custody of their daughter. And Crystal, whether out of fear or misplaced loyalty or some twisted sense of love, went along with his plans. The first murder plot was almost laughably incompetent. Patrick gave Crystal a picture of Kelsey and her address. The plan was for Crystal to steal drugs from the hospital where she worked as a nurse, poison a Starbucks coffee, and deliver it to Kelsey's home. Crystal would knock on the door, claim to be someone else, and hand over the poisoned coffee to a complete stranger. Think about this for a moment. What person in their right mind would accept a coffee from a random stranger who showed up at their door? Would you drink a beverage handed to you by someone you'd never met claiming to be delivering a gift? The plan was idiotic from the start. Crystal later claimed she couldn't go through with it. She showed up at Kelsey's door, but couldn't bring herself to hand over the poisoned drink. 2 more murder attempts followed, each apparently as unsuccessful as the first. The details of these attempts haven't been fully revealed, but prosecutors had enough evidence to charge Patrick with 3 separate counts of solicitation to commit murder. 3 times he tried to get Crystal to kill Kelsey. 3 times it didn't work, so Patrick decided to do it himself. On Thanksgiving Day, November 22, 2018, Patrick Frazee arrived at Kelsey Barth's townhouse. Their 1-year-old daughter, Kay, was with them, playing in the next room, oblivious to what was about to happen. Patrick had concealed a baseball bat, bringing it into the home without Kelsey noticing. Then he suggested they play a game. He blindfolded Kelsey. He told her he was going to light scented candles and have her guess the fragrances. It was meant to be romantic, playful, a sweet moment between a couple trying to reconnect. Kelsey trusted him. Despite the relationship troubles, despite living in separate homes, she still trusted the father of her child enough to let him blindfold her in her own home. That trust would be her fatal mistake. Instead of lighting candles, Patrick pulled out the baseball bat. He attacked Kelsey with lethal force while she was blindfolded and defenseless. She begged him to stop. Her last words were, "Please stop." But Patrick didn't stop. He continued the assault until Kelsey Barth, pilot, flight instructor, mother, daughter, had succumbed to her injuries on the floor of her own home. And the entire time, their 1-year-old daughter was just a room away. The brutality of this murder cannot be overstated. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a sudden fit of rage. Patrick had planned this. He'd brought the weapon. He'd created the scenario. He'd manipulated Kelsey into a position where she couldn't defend herself, and then he'd ended her life while their baby daughter played nearby. After killing Kelsey, Patrick called Crystal Lee. He needed her to come to Colorado and clean up the crime scene. Crystal later claimed she was terrified of Patrick. She thought he might do to her what he'd done to Kelsey if she refused to help. So, she drove 12 hours from Idaho to Woodland Park, arriving at a scene that she described as horrific. Here's where Crystal's story becomes difficult to believe. She claimed she was so afraid of Patrick that she drove 12 hours to help him cover up a murder. But if she was truly that terrified, why didn't she drive to the nearest police station instead? She was 12 hours away from Patrick. He couldn't hurt her from Colorado while she was in Idaho. One phone call to police would have saved Kelsey's life and put Patrick behind bars. One phone call, that's all it would have taken. Instead, Crystal spent 4 hours cleaning Kelsey's townhouse. She scrubbed the walls. She wiped down surfaces. She gathered contaminated items and put them in garbage bags. But she deliberately left some spots behind, small droplets in places where police might find them. She later claimed these were intentional evidence she left behind to make sure Patrick would eventually be caught. But the question remains, if she wanted Patrick caught, why not just call the police immediately? Investigators later walked through Kelsey's townhouse with Crystal, recording her testimony about what she saw and what she cleaned. The footage is disturbing. Crystal calmly points to walls where evidence had spread during the attack. She indicates spots on the floor where she found traces. She describes finding baby toys scattered around the room, some of them resting dangerously close to the forensic evidence. At one point, Patrick even asked Crystal to search near a vent in the home. He thought biological evidence from Kelsey might have landed there after the attack occurred. After cleaning the townhouse, Crystal filled 6 garbage bags with compromised items. These bags were taken to Patrick's family ranch and burned. But Crystal drew the line at helping dispose of Kelsey's remains. She refused to participate in that part of the cover-up. So Patrick put Kelsey's remains in a black bag, took her to his family's ranch, and placed her in a water trough. He covered the remains with accelerant and wood, and set the site alight. And according to Crystal's testimony, Patrick's mother, Sheila Frazee, was there. Sheila stepped out onto the porch and watched her son destroy the evidence of his ex-fiancée, the mother of her grandchild. When questioned by authorities later, Sheila Frazee invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. She refused to answer questions about what she might have seen or known. Despite extensive searches, Kelsey Barth's remains have never been found. Patrick destroyed the evidence so thoroughly that investigators couldn't recover enough to identify. All that's left of Kelsey are memories, photographs, and the testimony of those who knew her. On October 28, 2019, nearly a year after Kelsey's murder, Patrick Frazee's trial began. The prosecution built their case on text messages, video surveillance, and witness testimony. The timeline was clear. The evidence was overwhelming. Patrick had motive, opportunity, and means. He tried to have Kelsey killed multiple times. When those attempts failed, he killed her himself. Crystal Lee testified against Patrick, describing in detail the murder plots, the cleanup, and the disposal of the evidence. Kelsey's parents testified about their daughter's character and their last communications with her. A Verizon store employee provided testimony that should have been a smoking gun. On December 11, the day after Kelsey was reported missing, Patrick had walked into this employee's store with some very specific questions. He wanted to know if there was a way to change the PIN on a phone if he didn't have the phone in his possession. He also asked if anyone could recover information from a phone that had been destroyed. These aren't normal questions. These are the questions of someone trying to cover their tracks. Patrick knew Kelsey's phone was in Idaho with Crystal. He knew it might contain incriminating evidence. He wanted to know how to protect himself. But perhaps the most damning testimony came on the last day of the trial. A fellow inmate took the stand and revealed what Patrick had been doing while awaiting trial in jail. Patrick had approached this inmate with a proposition. He wanted to use the inmate's connections to a prison gang to kill several witnesses in the case. He'd written out a hit list on paper towels and napkins, complete with detailed instructions on where to find each person. The list included Crystal Lee. Patrick allegedly wrote that all the witnesses need to disappear and that he'd really like to see Crystal dead. He wanted the notes flushed down the toilet to destroy the evidence, but the inmate, hoping for a lighter sentence on his own charges, turned the notes over to investigators instead. This move reinforces something that should be obvious by now. Patrick Frazee was not a criminal mastermind. He was a complete fool. He thought an inmate in a gang would help him execute witnesses in a high-profile murder trial. He thought writing hit lists on paper towels was a good idea. He thought killing the mother of his child would somehow give him full custody of that child when in reality it guaranteed he'd never see his daughter again. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury reached their verdict. Patrick Frazee was found guilty of first-degree murder, tampering with a deceased human body, and 3 counts of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 156 years for the other charges. Patrick will die behind bars, never again seeing the daughter he claimed to want so desperately. Crystal Lee appeared in court in January 2020 for her own sentencing. She received 3 years for tampering with evidence. The charge normally carried only 18 months in prison, but the judge determined that aggravating factors in the case doubled her sentence. She also faces a year of parole upon release. Many people felt this sentence was far too lenient. Crystal had helped plan multiple murder attempts. She'd cleaned up a horrific crime scene. She'd helped destroy evidence. She'd sent text messages from Kelsey's phone to create a false trail. And she'd waited weeks before finally cooperating with police. 3 years seemed like a slap on the wrist for someone so deeply involved in such a heinous crime. To this day, Kelsey Barth's remains have never been found. Her family has no grave to visit, no place to leave flowers or say goodbye. Patrick took that from them along with everything else. The little girl, Kay, is now being raised by Kelsey's parents. She'll grow up knowing that her father murdered her mother on Thanksgiving Day when she was just 1 year old. She'll grow up with photographs and stories, but no memories of the woman who gave her life. This case raises so many questions that echo through countless true crime stories. Why do people kill their partners instead of simply leaving? Why do they think murder is easier than divorce or a custody battle? Patrick could have walked away. He could have fought for custody through the legal system. He could have moved on with his life. Instead, he chose violence. He chose to take a mother away from her child forever. And for what? He didn't get the life insurance money. He didn't get custody of his daughter. He lost everything. And what about Crystal Lee? What makes someone participate in murder plots against a complete stranger? Was she truly afraid of Patrick, or was she jealous of Kelsey? Did she think helping Patrick would make him choose her? The psychology behind these decisions is difficult to comprehend for most people. How do you drive 12 hours to clean up a murder scene and not stop at a police station along the way? How do you look at blood-spattered baby toys and not feel compelled to do the right thing immediately? The tragedy of Kelsey Barth is a reminder that danger can come from the people we trust most. Kelsey trusted Patrick enough to let him blindfold her in her own home. She believed they were playing a game. She had no idea that in the next moment her life would end. She never saw it coming. And that betrayal of trust makes this crime even more horrific than the violence itself. For anyone watching this story unfold, the lessons are clear but difficult to accept. Pay attention to warning signs in relationships. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Don't ignore red flags just because you want to believe the best in someone. And most importantly, if you see something suspicious, say something. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. One phone call can save a life. Patrick Frazee will spend the rest of his life in prison. A fitting punishment for someone who took a mother away from her child on a holiday meant for gratitude and family. Life plus 156 years sounds like justice for Kelsey Barth, even if it can never bring her back. What do you think about Crystal Lee's sentence? Was 3 years enough for someone who helped cover up such a brutal murder? Should she have received the same sentence as Patrick? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if this case affected you, if it made you think about the warning signs we sometimes ignore, share this video. You never know who might need to hear Kelsey's story. Hit that like button, subscribe for more true crime cases, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous person is the one you trust the most. Stay safe out there.